Why did Scott Cawthon abandon his famous game series, Five Nights at Freddy's? What led up to this? Was the pressure too much? In this video, we will delve into the facts and hopefully shed light on these questions that many FNaF fans still have to this day. Scott Cawthon, the creator. Many fans have grown to love for his development of the famous Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, turning an indie game into a multi-million-dollar franchise with every game being a massive hit. This style of horror game was unheard of at the time. He released his first FNaF game, Five Nights at Freddy's 1, in 2014, and I can say I was on the middle school bus at this time and definitely remember it popping off with every other person playing it and people talking about it and YouTubers from around the world raging over its mechanics. To this day, still gathering millions of players. Since FNaF 1, however, Scott managed to release a plethora of other games, books, merchandise, and even food items, going to interviews, meeting fans, meeting massive creators, and even getting over 2 Five Nights at Freddy's movies. However, in 2021, Scott, age 43, would announce his retirement seemingly out of the blue. Well, why? What happened? Well, let's back up about a week earlier and talk about what appears to be a catalyst for this shift and permanent decision. Well, mid-June, the game developer and animator Scott Cawthon would come under fire when Twitter users discovered that he had provided financial backing to a number of U.S. politicians, finding donation records all listed on OpenSecrets.org. These politicians include Donald Trump, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, and Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard. All three of these politicians have been criticized for transphobic views, with Gabbard having pushed a bill that would ban transgender girls from competing in women's sports. As such, several fans began to express disappointment in Cawthon for donating to such politicians, with many fans on Twitter and Reddit saying things like, "You can't say you love a group, then donate to people who openly harm them," with others stating, "Man, that's a huge shame, to be honest. I knew Scott was a devout Christian, but wasn't sure if he was that kind of Christian." And a third saying, "I always hated that guy. He can't make a good game, he can't write a decent story, he can't even be a good, reasonable person. And he has the audacity of being worse than J.K. Rowling." Now, for those of you who don't know, J.K. Rowling is the creator of Harry Potter, who was also canceled over transphobic and homophobic viewpoints. And the backlash towards Scott didn't show any signs of stopping. Trans/homophobic adjacent equals trans/homophobic. Just like hanging around Nazis makes you a Nazi. Personally, I would make a distinction. If he finances open bigotry, that makes him not only a bigot too, but one doing active harm. He says he's not a bigot, but he has no problem funding those who are. Yes, if you gave money to Hitler, you'd be a Nazi. There's no difference here. Generally, I'm actually so disappointed and sad about this. I thought he would be inclusive, as the community is so diverse. Cawthon initially remained silent on the backlash until he eventually published a Reddit post titled, "My Response and Maybe Last Post." There, he stressed that he loves his LGBT fan base and that he's always tried to treat everyone fairly, regardless of their gender, race, religion, or sexual orientation. Scott would state in a long post, "This message isn't specifically directly at the Reddit community. This is just the community that I care about the most and where I choose to post these things. I never cared much for Twitter anyway." To say the last few days have been surreal would be an understatement. I've debated greatly how best to address this, including not addressing it at all. But with so many people from the LGBT community in the fanbase that I love, that's not an option. I'd like to think the last 7 years would have given me the benefit of the doubt in regards to how I treat people. But there I was, trending on Twitter for being a homophobe, getting doxxed, people threatening to come to my house. My wife is 6 weeks pregnant and she spent last night in fear because of what was being said online. She has already been struggling with her pregnancy, so seeing her so afraid really scared me. All this because I saw my right and my duty as an American citizen to vote and to support the candidates who I felt could best run this country for everyone, and that's something that I won't apologize for. For those who took the time to look, you saw the candidates I supported include men, women, white people, black people, Republicans, and Democrats. I supported Kimberly in Baltimore because I believe that she really cared for the African American community there and wanted to pull them out of poverty. I believe she could have really made a difference at a time when so many black communities were struggling. She lost, unfortunately. I supported Tulsi, a Democrat, even though I disagreed with her on several issues because I felt like she would have been a good and fair president. And yes, I supported President Trump because I felt like he was the best man to fuel a strong economy and to stand up to Americans' enemies abroad, of which there are many. Even if there were candidates who have better things to say to the LGBT community directly and bigger promises to make, I believe that their stances on other issues would have ended up doing much greater harm to those communities than good. All of this explanation I fear is wasted as people don't want to discuss with one another anymore. They want endless apologies and submission. People who are expecting those from me will get neither. I've always been supportive of creators and I've tried to treat everyone fairly and treat everyone with dignity and respect. I've never cared about anyone's race, religion, gender, or orientation. I just treat people as people. Everyone's the same, and because of that, I've ended up on a very diverse group of people that I've worked with over the years. It wasn't intentional, it just happened that way. I choose people who are best for the job. I treat everyone the same, and I end up with people from all walks of life in my professional life and my personal life as well. That's the way it should be. That's the way I want it to be. That's the way I will continue to be. I'm a Republican, I'm a Christian, I'm pro-life. I believe in God, I also believe in equality and in science and in common sense. Despite what many may say, all those things can go together. That's not an apology or a promise to change. It's the way it's always been. If I get canceled, then I get canceled. I don't do this for the money anymore. I do it because I enjoy it. If people think I'm doing more harm than good now, then maybe it's better that I get canceled and retire. I would accept that. I've had a fulfilling career. Besides, most things that people can take from you are things that never had much value to begin with. I have always loved and will continue to love the community and this fan base, even if someday it doesn't include me anymore. He would later announce on his website to be retiring. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a coincidence, especially since he had said that he might retire due to it. This left many X fans even more upset with him, doubling down and refusing to apologize, seemingly running away from his problems, resulting with even more backlash, stating, "I'm disappointed in Scott." Now, if we were to be generous as humanly possible, we can say that maybe he's acting on pure intentions and maybe even has not one bigoted bone in his body. He's still voting with his wallet, and that's all that matters. If I buy a bunch of Konami merchandise, I may morally disagree with their abusive workers and their general greed, but my actions have made me vote in support of that. Likewise, by donating to these harmful groups, he's basically in support of those who act to hinder and harm the LGBT plus community. And it really sucks to see how this whole mess played out. We aren't bullying Scott, nor are we demonizing him for being Republican and Christian. We're calling it a decision that at best was extremely irresponsible and stupid. It seems a reason for Scott's retirement was simply because he couldn't handle backlash caused by his own actions, and instead of taking a stand and apologizing for it, he stood and said it was his right. I love the FNaF games, but I also think you can't completely blame ex-fans of Scott for being upset. Well, at the same time, I do completely disagree with people going to his house and doxing him and his wife and threatening them. I think, guys, that's a little too far. Scott also mentioned he wanted to spend more time doing what he loved and hang out with his family, which is fair enough, but the biggest cause for his retirement seems to be all the controversies now surrounding him. The same community who builds you up also tends to be the same community who creators seem to abandon. Scott's like a captain who spends years carefully building a grand ship, gathering a loyal crew and promising them adventure, security, and shared destiny. The crew trusts the captains, follows every command, and works tirelessly to keep the ship afloat. But when storm clouds gather and waves grow rough, the captain doesn't rally the crew or steer them to safety. Instead, they quietly lower a lifeboat, climb in alone, and drift away into the fog, leaving the very people who built their dream to fend for themselves as the ship takes on water. Scott abandoned the boat at the first sign of trouble, and his fans definitely felt the impact.